Hello friends, Clage back with an updated guide today. As I expected, I was in fact missing something about optimizing Teddy and the new Ice team. It just turns out that something is actually running a double amplifier composition, and it wasn't anything with her actual rotations. So got. I absolutely got. I just didn't get got in the way I thought I was going to. I was very certain there was something not adding up. I just didn't think it was going to be, oh, hey, try two amplifiers. And it just shows you sometimes you really got to think outside the box. But nonetheless, there is a lot I need to correct from the Teddy guide, and if I try to do it in a pinned comment, it's going to be 10 paragraphs long, and let's be real, that's just not useful to anybody. So I'm just going to do this updated vid on the team composition, as well as updated rotations, so you all can use it and work on the Ice War Zone this week. So with that out of the way, let's go take a look at what the team compositions can look like now, and what our best options are for dealing with Ice War Zone going forward. So, the ideal composition now will be a double amplifier setup. You have multiple options for which amplifier to use. If you have a very well invested Isla Kaleido, and I'm talking minimum triple S with her signature weapon, with the weapon harmonized, and multiple weapon resonances. My Isla only has a single weapon resonance because she's a very old character at this point. I never felt the need to invest more in her because she didn't see the field. So I have not invested extra resonances in her, and frankly, I don't want to. She's still an outdated character, and as soon as we get any kind of addition to the Ice team, then she's going to be gone. So, but if you have a well-built Isla, she will be the ideal amplifier. The good news is that the other options score very similar. I had very similar scores with all three amplifiers I tried, but I did have marginally more success with other amplifiers that are simply more invested than my Isla. But if your Isla is well built, I would recommend starting here for your double amplifier composition. If you do not have Isla well built, she is an old character. A lot of you are newer players. You probably did not have a reason to go get her out of the dorm commissions, or just haven't invested in her because there's been a billion other characters this year. Thanks, Global Sync. Here are some other options for you. So for my testing, my best results came from my Lilith. My Lilith is triple S plus, so that helps out a little bit, even though she doesn't do much on the field at all. Nonetheless, she does have multiple weapon resonances, and that kind of turned out to be the difference maker for my runs personally. But you have other options as well. If you don't have Lilith well invested, but you have a well invested Vera Garavor, she will also work as your fully support oriented amplifier. If you can help it, I would say avoid using 21 unless you have her crazy invested, as the more modern amplifiers just run a more efficient route overall compared to what 21 can do. And obviously Veronica is not going to fly because she's a physical amplifier, so don't go that route. One other thing I should note real quick, do not try to plug in Ishmael as a second amplifier. Ishmael can only take on the amplifier passives that she has if there is no amplifier on the team, and with Teddy on the team, that won't work. So Ishmael is sadly not an option for this particular team, so keep that in mind. But for my salt, Lilith was my highest performing, Isla very slightly behind, and then Vera slightly behind Isla. But these all essentially got to the same round in the war zone. So it's not a massive drop off from amplifier to amplifier. Just take whichever amplifier you have that's already triple S, whether it's one of the free ones or whether you invested heavily in one of the paid amplifiers, but just make sure you have the triple S amplifier skill, and they will work fine as the support for this team. So let's talk about the actual builds and how they look now that we're running a double amplifier composition as opposed to a traditional composition. So Teddy is going to swap over to 4-piece Joanna, which is her signature set, and 4-piece Chinjian. Just having multiple characters with Chinjian, even though it doesn't stack, just continues to be the way for Ice. It's just a better memory set. Kadi underperforms for some reason. I don't know what it is about Chinjian, but this stuff just it just rips, man. Whatever it is, it does it well on Ice. So 4-piece Chinjian, Your resonances, if your Teddy is SS3 or higher, I recommend doing signature on the bottom. If your Teddy is below SS3, I would recommend doing the class amplifier skill on the bottom. Now, I have gotten some conflicting reports about double S3 and whether signature or class skill is better. I am not able to personally test it because my Teddy's already evolved to triple S, so I can't actually test her at lower investment to see what performs better. So you may have to experiment with your memory resonances. Just give it a shot and test out which works out better. If you're below double S3, the signature is not going to be the way. Absolutely do the amplifier class passive instead. But if you're at double S3, you may want to experiment with both and see which one gives you better results. Once you're above double S3 and you hit triple S and beyond, absolutely do the signature skill. Pretty straightforward. As for Teddy's resonances, it is going to depend on how well invested your other amplifier is. If you have multiple resonances on your other amplifier and can do both Glorious Spear and superconducting axial ray, then you don't need to run axial ray on Teddy. Obviously, it doesn't stack. No reason to do so there. If your support amplifier only has 1 or 0 resonances, you should be prioritizing Glorious Spear on the support, so Teddy will want to go ahead and run Axial Ray as one of her resonances. In order, if you need to run Axial Ray on her, do it, but first and foremost, Glorious Spear, it's the best amplifier reso. This is no exception, even though Teddy is the strongest damage dealer on the team. She heals herself at times, which means she gets the bonus. After that, Incandescence if you don't need to do Axial Ray, and if you can do all 3 as purely damage resos on Teddy, Matrix Lightning should take the 3rd slot. But do keep in mind, you will want an Axial Ray on one of the 2 amplifiers if you have enough resonances to support it. If you don't worry about it, but if you have weapon resos to spare, that should be your priority for Teddy. As for Wanshi is going to run 4-piece List and 4-piece Chinjian, so not much changes here. I have had much better success with him resonating signature on the bottom and 15 attack up top, just like everybody else. If your Wanshi is lower investment, mine is triple S and maxed out with resonances because he's a free character and I've had enough time to get him there. If yours is lower, you may want to consider trying the class skill and have the tank resonance on the bottom and see which gets you better results. Again, I unfortunately can't test lower rank characters because there's no way to turn off the evolution perks once they're unlocked. So you will have to do a little of experimentation on whether or not tank or sig is going to be better for Wanshi on his memory resonances. As for his weapon resonances, so this has changed the game a little bit. If you want to do the most optimal rotation for Wanshi, you're going to need 2 resonances. Domain deconstruction is still the most important, always has been. You don't not have domain deconstruction on your tank. That's just a ton of lost damage over the course of a run. This is still priority number 1. Priority number 2 now is deadline timing, believe it or not. With deadline timing, Wanshi can start doing triple ult rotations after his first rotation, and this is very important, not just because a triple ult rotation means more time stop. It is, that's always good, but the most important part is that if Wanshi can do triple ult rotations, he will then build enough signature energy for Teddy after his second rotation, where she won't have to manually hit the yellow orb on bring in and then tap her ult. She will build up enough energy to do the automatic ultimate as long as you have her 6-star weapon, which you should. It's free. And then therefore having deadline timing on Wanshi is very, very important now if you can afford it. If you can't, I will have a rotation that doesn't need deadline timing, but just know that you're going to have to mostly manually activate Teddy basically every other rotation. So if you can afford the resonances, this is how I talk. I've been doing way too much voiceover lately. Sorry. But if you have multiple resonances, deadline timing is your next priority. Incandescence would be the 3rd if you go the distance for Wanshi's weapon resonances. So that covers him. As for the amplifiers themselves taking on the support role, if you are running Isla, you will want to run 4-piece Da Vinci, 2-piece Guinevere, 2-piece Einstein. Resonances are very straightforward. It's class skill on the bottom, attack up top. This is the same for every single amplifier that you would use, regardless of which one is your most well invested. It's always going to be class skill bottom and 15 attack up top. But for Isla specifically, do not try to run 4-piece Guinevere. 4-piece Guinevere does not work on Isla the way her healing is distributed. She cannot proc it reliably, so you'll want to do 2 Einstein, 2 Guinevere, as opposed to the 4 Gwyn setup that the modern amplifiers use. As for your weapon resonances, like I said, mine only has 1, so testing with Isla, I kept her on Glorious Spear and let Teddy pick up the Axial Ray. If you have multiple resonances, obviously Glorious Spear, then Axial Ray. If you have all 3, go ahead and throw Incandescence on for the extra attack that gets converted to healing and all that fun stuff. So pretty straightforward for Isla. She's not too hard to figure out. For Lilith or Vera, your route is going to be the exact same. You're going to do 4-piece Da Vinci, 4-piece Guinevere, and same thing with the harmonization, class skill in the bottom, attack 15 up top. Doesn't matter which amplifier it is. This applies to the rest of the amplifiers who aren't Isla. Again, Lilith or Vera are going to be your best bets as long as they are triple S with a harmonized weapon. As for weapon resonances on Lilith, same thing applies. Glorious Spear, Axial Ray, and then Incandescence in that order. And same thing for Vera. Exact same build top to bottom. So that pretty much covers the modern team composition. The general idea is that regardless of how well invested your characters are, Teddy is going to be doing double ult rotations. Wancha is going to either be doing double ult rotations or a triple ult rotation if you have deadline timing. And if you don't have deadline timing, then your support amplifier will fill a small set of downtime every couple rotations. And this works out pretty well because regardless of if it's Isla, Lilith, or Vera, you will have enough time to just spam some 3 pings and get your first ultimate online and cast that, get the time stop, squeeze in a little damage, and then swap to the next character. So they all function basically exactly the same. And as I mentioned, don't fret if your Isla is underinvested, but you have one of these two. The damage range that these was so small. It really was not big gaps between any of them. So as long as you have one of these 3 built and can put a full support set on them, you're good to go. They will work even if they are off element. But again, I highly recommend it either being Isla, Lilith, or Vera Garivore. 21 is the next option if you absolutely have to. And like I said, don't go grab a physical amplifier. That ain't going to work. So that covers the team composition. Let's go ahead and go over the modern rotations so you can see how those work and take those into the Ice War Zone this week and experiment with what makes the most sense for your team and its investment level. All right, so let's go over the 2 rotations I've come up with to utilize the new Ice Team composition. I'm going to have one for if you have Wancha, but you do not have deadline timing on his weapon, and then one for when you do have deadline timing on his weapon. The rotations are going to be fairly similar. The one with deadline timing is honestly more simple because you don't have to utilize the support amplifier to fill in downtime, but they're both pretty straightforward and they both have a lot of overlap. These are not wildly different rotations from one to the other. Couple things I want to go over real quick. First and foremost, Teddy's rotation does not change. The only difference is we're going to do double ult rotations instead of single ult rotations like I showed you in the guide. Otherwise, from my testing, it was always more damage to always do a full ult sequence with Teddy, aka making sure you build the blue, red, and yellow orbs before doing her final ultimate. A lot of people have experimented with shortchanging one of her 2 ultimates and only doing 1 or 2 of the colored orbs. I tried doing various combinations and sequences of those, and my damage always fell off. Now, that may change if you are playing Teddy at a lower investment where you are maybe resonating the class skill on the bottom of your memories as opposed to ultimate. Then you may want to actually experiment with shortchanging one of her 2 ultimates in her rotation just to make sure you don't waste any field time for Wancha, because there is a good chance that your Wancha might actually be doing more damage at that point. But for the most part, it's just Teddy's rotation is exactly the same. She just does 2 rounds instead of 1. The next thing I want to mention real quick here is I'm not going to be listing out QTE timings in my commentary or the annotations. The reason for that is that your QTE timings will change drastically depending on which support amplifier you are using. With the modern amplifiers like Lilith, you get the QTE reset bonus, whereas Isla does not have that luxury. So you're going to have to experiment with your QTE timings a little bit. If you want the general advice, just try to save them for ultimates and you'll be fine. It's not going to be the most optimal, but if you don't want to get ultra sweaty with it and worry about the maximum optimum QTE timing, just save them for when you're about to ultimate and it'll work out just fine. But just keep in mind, if I was going to try and do QTEs for every single team composition, this would be like literally 12 or 14 rotations, and nobody has time for that, least of all y'all. So last thing, these are going to be in Warzone recordings because unfortunately the way these rotations play out, I kept running into a problem where Teddy would end up killing the training dummy right before Wanshi comes on the field. And what happens is the training dummy is not programmed to spawn where you are. He always kind of spawns in the middle of the stage. And because of how much these characters move around, I would end up bringing Wanshi in. He would throw his 3-ping bring in, and it would hit nothing because the enemy is literally all the way back off in Narnia where I can't touch it. So I had to go ahead and just do these within the Warzone. So there's going to be more visual noise and screen clutter than I would like for this particular type of showing you rotation part of the video, but just bear with me. We got to do it live in the trenches this time because Teddy be doing too much damage and killing training dummies. Like, be nicer to the equipment, Teddy. Anyway. All right, let's go through these. This will be the non-deadline timing rotation. These are fairly straightforward and fairly easy to pick up. Shouldn't be too difficult. If you've been playing Wanshi for any amount of time, these will be pretty familiar, albeit with a little bit of a minor wrinkle just to accommodate Teddy as much as we can. So let's go ahead and go through this. I'll go through it piece by piece, and then I'll do the actual commentary and annotations. Wanshi, to start in for his first rotation, we are going to do 2 ultimates. So we're going to do a 3-ping, do the 6 red shots, fire the ultimate after 6 red shots, and then build another set of 6 red shots, use those, and ult twice. So effectively, we're going to do 2 fast ultimates from Wanshi before bringing in Teddy for her first rotation. So pretty straightforward. You've done this a billion times by now. Fire the 6 shots. Make sure you catch the gun on the first 6 red shots. You have to catch the gun. If you don't, the chamber will not reload, and then you won't be able to quickly fire off 6 more to get double ultimates. So always make sure you catch the gun and see the revolver light up before you go ahead and tap the ultimate. From here, ultimate goes off, use your matrix ping and a 3-ping, and then we're going to fire off 6 more red shots. This time, you do not have to catch the gun because we're going to be sending Wanshi outfield after this. That means he will automatically reload the bullets when he is off the field, so you can ultimate immediately. You don't have to wait for the gun catch after this one. From here, Teddy comes in, and we're going to do the exact same rotation I taught you in the Teddy guide. Build up all 3 colored orbs once you get into ultimate, use your ultimate, and then we're going to do it again because now we're utilizing double ult rotations. So we go into ultimate, you do your 3 white 3-pings, use the red orb, hold basic to use the blue orb, tap basic to use the yellow orb, ultimate goes off. And now instead of swapping Teddy off field from a single rotation, now we are just going to spam white 3-pings. It'll take 3 of them in a row here to get the red orb back online. Tap the red orb. That will fill up the core passive gauge and signature energy. And now we can go immediately back into ultimate once again. So, same thing, repeat the sequence, build all 3 orbs just like we did the first time. Again, if you're at a lower investment, feel free to experiment with shortchanging this and only doing 1 or 2 of the colored orbs before casting the ultimate. But again, in my testing, it was always more worthwhile to just do all 3 orbs every time. From here, Wanshi comes on for his second rotation, and we are going to utilize another double ultimate rotation again. So starting off the exact same way, use your 3-ping, come in, 6 red shots, make sure you catch the gun. Again, if you don't catch the gun, the rotation's brick. You always got to make sure you see the bullets light back up. Fire off the first ultimate. From here, we're going to burn a matrix ping into a 3-ping. And now what we're going to do from here is we're going to hold red and then hold basic to go into the air dash sequence. We are going to go ahead and expend both rounds of revolver bullets instead of doing the faster ultimate here because if you try to do 3 ultimates regularly with Wancha without deadline timing, you will run out of orbs. There are occasions around the middle of the run where you can fit in a 3rd ultimate because you will have enough orbs saved up, but it's not something you can do every other rotation, or unlike the deadline timing rotation where you can do it literally every rotation after the first. So this is one of those things where the nuance of Warzone comes in, and you're going to have to make some judgment calls. If you find yourself like midway or 3/4 of the way through the run and you do your 2nd ultimate and you see Wancha has 6 more orbs ready to go, feel free to fire off a 3rd ultimate so that Teddy can auto ult the next time she comes in. But if you want to keep it simple, just do 2 ultimates every single rotation and swap back and forth between the first sequence, which was what I showed you earlier, and then this sequence, which is going right now. So from here into the air dash, we're going to go ahead, spin both clips. Make sure you ultimate before Wancha lands back on the ground and catches the gun. If he catches the gun, he'll do the quick ultimate instead of the full whirlwind ultimate. So we do this, and from here, since now we are not ready to swap back to Teddy because her cooldown isn't finished yet, and we don't want to do triple ultimates with Wancha because we'll burn ourselves out of orbs, this is where you're going to swap to your support amplifier, and it doesn't matter which one you're using. If you're using Isla, Lilith, or Vera, you're just going to spam your orbs to get a fast ultimate off for a little bit of extra time stop and a little bit of extra damage. So in Lilith's case, I'm just going to spam blue 3 pings, get into the first ultimate, and then immediately swap to Teddy as soon as that first ultimate goes off. The reason we do this is that if you get an ultimate off really quick with your amplifier, that will cause it so Teddy can auto ult when she comes on the field again. If you only do the 2 ultimates with Wancha and then wait and swap over to Teddy, she will not have enough signature energy, and you'll have to ping the yellow orb before ultimate. Using your ultimate. God, I've done too much voice work this week. My brain is shot. I'm sorry, y'all. Moving on. Getting your auto, even if you're a little bit slow, let's say it takes you an extra second to get the ultimate off with your support amplifier and Teddy's been off cooldown for a second, the extra second you spend making it so Teddy just automatically ults upon bring in will be made up. You'll come out ahead on that exchange. So when there is downtime between Wancha and Teddy, you're just going to spam some orbs with your support amplifier, cast their ultimate, and then swap them out. If you're Vera, you're just going to tap blue 3 ping, use her ultimate, swap her out. Lilith, do 3 blue 3 pings, swap her out after you ultimate. If you are using Isla, same thing, just mash your 3 pings, tap ultimate to go into her ultimate mode where she rides her paintbrush, and then just immediately tap ultimate a second time so she does the final part of her ultimate. It doesn't do any damage because you have no stacks built up, but it is time stop and it is still ice damage, so it will count for something. And again, using that will give Teddy auto ultimate when she comes in. From here, you just repeat the rest of the rotation. That's it. That's the entirety of the non-DLT rotation. Teddy comes in, does 2 ultimates. Wancha comes back on, does 6 red shots ult, 6 red shots ult. Repeat from there for the rest of the rotation. Very, very simple. Very, very straightforward. Again, if you're looking for extra optimization, play around with your QTE timings, play around with shortchanging an ult or 2 on Teddy, and try to fit in 3 ults with Wancha where you can when he has extra orbs to spare. Just keep in mind that is going to alter how your future rotations work with him. If you do a 3rd ult, then your bullet count is going to be different. Instead of always being at 12 and then always going back to 30 using the ult and starting the next one at 0. So you'll have to adjust from there. If you've played Wancha long enough, you know how to adjust based on how many bullet stacks you have. So that covers the non-deadline timing rotation in the explanatories phase. I can't talk. This is such a scuff, but this needs to go out because I've waited way too long to explain why I screwed up Teddy's guide. So let's go through this piece by piece. I'll do the annotations, put the notes off to the side so you can use it for practice, but new ice team composition, no deadline timing. Swap Wancha in, 3 ping, hold red, 6 red shots. Catch the gun, ult. Matrix ping, 3 ping, hold red, 6 red shots. Ult immediately, no need to catch the gun this time. Bring Teddy in. Yellow orb, ultimate. 3 white 3 pings. Red orb, hold basic. Blue orb, tap basic. Yellow orb, ultimate. Spam 3 white, 3 pings again. Red orb, ultimate. 3 white, 3 pings again. Tap red, hold basic. Tap blue, tap basic. Tap yellow, ultimate. Teddy swaps out. Wancha comes in, 3 ping, hold red, 6 red shots. Catch the gun, ultimate. Matrix ping, 3 ping, hold red, hold basic. Empty both clips, ultimate. Swap to your support amplifier. Spam orbs, get into your ultimate ASAP. Swap back to Teddy. Repeat the rotation from there. That's it. There's your non-deadline timing rotation. Let's go ahead and go over the deadline timing version. It is not terribly different, and it's actually a little bit simpler because if you're doing it right, you'll never need your support amplifier on the field, and we'll wrap this up as quickly as possible because this doesn't need to be another entire guide. All right, so for the deadline timing rotation, if you can afford to put an extra resonance on Wancha, things actually even get a little bit simpler here because, one, we don't need to bring the support amplifier in for downtime anymore. Two, Wancha can always do 3 ultimates after his first rotation, which will mean that Teddy always gets an auto ultimate after her first rotation. So this one is going to look very similar. The only real difference is going to be no support amplifier, and Wancha's second rotation and on are going to repeat exactly the same, and you're going to do 3 ultimates instead of 2. So let's just go through this one quick so I can get you all out of here. So same thing, we're going to start with a double ultimate first rotation for Wancha. So 6 red shots, catch gun, ultimate. 6 more red shots, ultimate immediately. From here, Teddy comes in, does her exact same rotation as the non-deadline timing version. Tap the yellow orb, go into ult mode, collect all 3 colored orbs like the little treasures they are because Teddy is a gamer. Do your first ultimate. We get out of ultimate, do 3 white 3 pings, go back into ultimate, repeat the process. And I'll just annotate this when we actually do the full thing live here, but let's just get to the actual notable different part of the rotation here. So Teddy does her double ult rotation. Wancha will be back online. So from here, this is where we set up the triple ultimate rotation with Wancha. This will be the rotation you will do for the rest of the run. If you're doing it properly, you will always end every single rotation with Wancha with 12 stacks of the ultimate. So this just loops into itself perfectly for the rest of the rotation. So we come in, 3 ping, 6 red shots, catch the gun, and then do the fast ultimate. Here's where the first change happens. So we're going to do our matrix ping, 3 ping, and we're going to go into the air dash sequence. This time, however, we only want to use 1 clip of the revolver, catch the gun, and make sure the revolver is full again, and then ultimate immediately. So this is how we're going to set up our triple ultimate without wasting too much field time for Teddy. So we come in, do our 3 pings, we go into the air dash sequence. As soon as you see the stacks at 30 and you see the 6 bullets have lit back up, make sure you ultimate immediately. If you hold on to basic for too long here and expend 1 more of the bullets, then your rotation is going to be bricked because you're not going to have the correct amount of shots to loop the rotation from there. So this is probably the trickiest part of the deadline timing rotation, is just making sure you ult right after you catch the gun. If you do it too early, your chambers will be empty and then the rotation's bricked. If you do it too late, you'll end up spinning a bullet or 2 and then the rotation is bricked. So just make sure you're timing this accurately. This is the one major slipping point in Wancha's second rotation on. So we catch the gun, we go into the ultimate. From here, we're going to do 2 more 3 pings, and now we're going to do a full 12 red shots into the ultimate, and this lets us loop the rotation for the rest of the run. Teddy will come back in. She will auto-ultimate because Wancha's done 3 ults himself, which builds her enough signature energy, and the rotation just loops from there. This is all you do. Bring Teddy in, do your double ult rotation, bring Wancha back in, do your triple ult rotation. Repeat till everything is dead. I will note that if you're doing this consistently and you're not making any mistakes, you're going to find towards the end of the run, you're not going to be able to finish Teddy's final double ult rotation. That is where I recommend seeing how much time you've got left and cutting off one of her ultimates a little bit early to make sure that you get a second ultimate off before the timer ends. So something to keep in mind. But let's go ahead, go through, annotate this live one more time. I'll put the notes off to the side so you can practice, and we can wrap up this addendum guide to actually make it so my Teddy information is correct and not terrible. So new ice team composition with deadline timing on Wanshi rotation. Bring Wanshi in, 3 ping, hold red, 6 red shots. Catch the gun, ultimate. Matrix ping, 3 ping, hold red, 6 red shots. Ult immediately, no need to catch the gun. Bring Teddy in. Yellow orb, ultimate, 3 white, 3 pings. Tap red, hold basic. Tap blue, tap basic. Tap yellow, ultimate. Spam 3 white, 3 pings. Tap red, ultimate. 3 white, 3 pings again. Tap red, hold basic. Tap blue, tap basic. Tap yellow, ultimate. Swap back to Wanshi. Wanshi, 3 ping, hold red, 6 red shots. Catch the gun. Ultimate. Matrix ping, 3 ping, hold red, hold basic. Ultimate after the first clip empties and Wanshi catches the gun and reloads. 2 more 3 pings, hold red, 12 red shots. Don't have to catch the gun on the second one. Ultimate. Swap Teddy in. Teddy auto ultimates. Repeat the rotation for the rest of the run. Okay, there. It is finally up to date. These are the actual good rotations. Again, there are nuance in both of these. You can do some minor optimizations here and there depending on your QTEs, depending on if you want to try cutting short ultimates. There's always going to be little bits of nuance in Warzone, especially ones like this week where there are multiple enemies. Sometimes you might just want to ult early or hold an ult because of the way a wave plays out. You guys all know how Warzone works by now. You gotta adapt here and there, but if you just want to be able to repeat the same rotation over and over again, this one is perfectly viable. It will get you a more than average score in Warzone for whatever your investment level is. So I'm just gonna call it. We're not going back to the menu. I'm not gonna do an outro or anything. This was way too long just to correct me missing out on the concept that you can in fact put 2 amplifiers in a team. So at least I will remember to test this going forward when we get another new amplifier down the road. Although, oh no, we still have 21 to replace. So yeah, we got one more that's going to get updated, I would think, sometime soon. But we all thought Karen was getting updated 2 years ago. So, you know. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, if you have anything didn't make sense, or you want some build advice, or if you have tested some of these other options I've listed out, whether it's the memory builds, the resonances, or the actual rotations themselves, and you have something that might add a little bit of optimization of these, feel free to let me know down in the comments. This should correct most of what I missed in the Teddy guide, and this should get your Teddy doing much more notable, consistent damage and having your ice team output much bigger numbers in Warzone. So, as always, I appreciate you all. If you want to do the YouTube junk, like, comment, subscribe, it's always appreciated. It's never necessary. If you'd like to check out the Patreon, all my videos go up a little early there. They are completely ad-free over there. Membership starts at $1. As always, none of my content's locked behind it. If you don't have any money, especially after holidays, totally get it. There's no pressure whatsoever, but just like y'all, I got to pay bills, so I do have to do a pitch at the end of the video because, you know, it'd be like that. But anyway, I appreciate you all. I will have some new stuff coming up soon, but for now, Happy New Year to you all. Hope you all had a good celebration if you did celebrate, and here's to hopefully 2026 being more good stuff for PGR. So I'm going to call it good there. Y'all be good to each other. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.